My millionaire grandmother saw me walking while holding my baby and said, "In this heat, why aren't you driving the Audi I gave you?" I answered, "I only have an old bicycle. My younger sister is the one with the Audi." She said, "I'll fix this tonight." Then the FBI showed up. The Houston summer was brutal, the kind of heat that turns the air thick and makes every breath feel heavy. I was pushing a rusty second-hand bicycle down a quiet street in the suburbs, one hand gripping the handlebar, the other cradling my newborn son against my chest in a worn-out carrier. Sweat soaked through my shirt, and the formula in the bag was almost gone. That was the only reason I was out here at all. My name is Victoria. My husband Tyler was stationed overseas with the army, so I had moved back into my parents' house with my baby boy. At first, it seemed like the practical thing to do, a place to stay while Tyler was gone. But it quickly turned into something else entirely. Everything I did was watched, questioned, controlled. How I fed my son, how I spent money, even how I dressed him. They said it was because I was exhausted from being a new mom that they were just helping. But the help always came with strings. The biggest string was the car. My grandmother Margaret had given me a brand new silver Audi right after the wedding, and again after the baby was born. A generous gift meant for me to get around easily with a newborn. But I never once held the keys. "You're too tired to drive safely," my parents told me. "It would be a waste to let it sit. Your sister needs it more right now." And just like that, the Audi became my younger sister's daily driver. I got handed the old bicycle instead, the one with the flat tire I had to pump up every few blocks. I never argued. I told myself it was temporary, that it was family looking out for family. But standing there in the blazing sun, legs shaking from the walk, baby getting heavier by the minute, something inside me finally cracked. A sleek black SUV slowed beside me. The rear window slid down, and there she was, my grandmother Margaret. She didn't visit often, but when she did, it was always in style. Her eyes narrowed as she took in the scene, me drenched in sweat, the beat-up bicycle, the baby strapped to my chest. "In this heat, Victoria, why on earth aren't you driving the Audi I gave you?" I swallowed hard. My throat was dry, not just from the weather. This was the first time anyone had asked me directly. And for reasons I still don't fully understand, I told the truth. "I only have this bicycle. My younger sister is the one with the Audi." The words hung in the hot air. Grandma's face didn't change at first. She just stared at me, then at the baby, then at the bicycle leaning against my hip. A long silence stretched between us. Then she leaned forward and spoke to her driver in a voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass. "Pull over." The door opened. Cool air rushed out, carrying that new leather smell only expensive cars have. She looked straight at me. "Get in." I hesitated for half a second, but the weight of the bicycle and the heat pressing down made the choice easy. I folded the bike into the trunk with the driver's help, climbed into the back seat, and held my son close as the door shut behind us. The air conditioning hit like a wave. My baby stirred, then settled again. Grandma didn't say anything at first. She just watched me as the SUV pulled smoothly away from the curb. I thought she would ask questions, demand explanations, but she only said one thing: "I'll fix this tonight." There was no emotion in her voice, just absolute certainty. The kind of certainty that comes from building a fortune from nothing and knowing exactly how the world works. I didn't know what she meant yet. I didn't know who she would call or how far she would go. But in that moment, sitting in the cool quiet of her car holding my sleeping son, I felt something shift. The fight I didn't even know I had in me was about to begin. If you want to know exactly how my millionaire grandmother made the FBI show up at our door just hours later, stick around. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. This is the story of how I took back everything that was stolen from me and my son. As soon as the heavy front door of the mansion closed behind us, the noise of the outside world disappeared. The cool air inside felt almost cold after the Houston heat, and the calm was broken only by the soft hum of the air conditioning. Grandma led me into a large living room with high ceilings and dark wood floors. She told the staff to bring cold water and prepare a crib upstairs for the baby. Then she sat down across from me on a leather sofa and simply said, "Talk." I didn't know where to start. For months, I had kept everything inside, convincing myself it was normal family help. But now, with her steady eyes on me, the words came out faster than I expected. I told her how after Tyler deployed, moving back home seemed like the only option. At first, Mom and Dad were supportive. They said I needed rest after a difficult delivery. But soon, every decision about Benjamin became theirs. What formula he drank, what clothes he wore, even when he slept. If I disagreed, they called me irrational, said new mothers often struggle and need guidance. Then there was the money. Before we married, I had my own savings account and credit card. After Benjamin arrived, Mom insisted on managing everything because I was too overwhelmed. She took my debit card for groceries and baby supplies. The withdrawals started small, then grew. Hundreds at a time for things I never saw. When I asked, she said it was for household expenses and that I shouldn't worry about finances right now. I told Grandma about the Audi, how the keys were taken the same week it arrived, how Brooke started driving it every day for work and shopping, saying she needed reliable transportation more than I did. How I was handed the old bicycle instead and told to be grateful. Grandma listened without interrupting. Her face stayed calm, but I saw her fingers tighten around the glass of water. When I finished, the room felt heavier. She asked only a few questions. Did I ever sign anything giving them control of my accounts? No. Did I know about the $200,000 trust she had set up for me and the baby the day he was born? I froze. I had never heard a word about it. Not once. That was when her expression changed. A quiet anger settled in her eyes, the kind that doesn't need volume to be felt. She stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the manicured lawn for a long moment. Then she picked up her phone from the side table and made a call. She didn't leave the room. She didn't lower her voice. "Richard, it's Margaret." A pause. "I need you to connect me to Deputy Director Ellis at the FBI. Yes, the Houston field office. Tell him it's urgent and involves substantial tax fraud and interstate trust violations. I'll hold." My heart started pounding. I had never heard her speak like that, direct, commanding, using titles and terms I barely understood. She waited on the line less than a minute. When the person on the other end answered, her tone shifted to ice-cold precision. "David, Margaret Whitmore. I have evidence of systematic financial exploitation involving a family trust I established, unauthorized withdrawals, and clear attempts to evade reporting requirements. The victim is my granddaughter and her infant son. I want a case opened tonight. I'll have all bank records and documentation ready for your team within the hour." Another pause while she listened. Then, "Yes, I'm aware of the threshold. This exceeds it by a wide margin. Thank you." She ended the call and turned back to me. "It's done," she said. "They're sending agents here tonight." I couldn't speak. I had expected anger, maybe a confrontation with my parents. Not this. Grandma sat down again and reached for my hand. Her grip was firm. "Victoria, what they've done isn't help. It's theft. And they used your trust against you. That ends now." The staff brought a bassinet into the room for Benjamin. I laid him down carefully, still trying to process everything. Grandma poured me more water and told me to rest on the sofa. She said dinner would wait until after the agents arrived. Hours passed calmly. The house staff moved around silently, bringing documents from Grandma's office, printouts of the trust transfer records, tax filings. I watched her organize everything with the efficiency of someone who had run companies for decades. Close to midnight, the intercom buzzed. The security gate camera showed two dark sedans pulling into the driveway. Grandma glanced at the screen and nodded to the staff. "Let them in." A firm knock echoed through the house. Grandma walked to the door herself and opened it. Three people stood on the porch, two men in suits, and one woman, all carrying briefcases and credentials. The man in front stepped forward and held up his badge. Mrs. Whitmore, Special Agent Ramirez, FBI. We're here about the financial fraud report you filed earlier this evening. Early morning sunlight streamed through the living room windows. I had barely slept, but Benjamin was still sleeping peacefully in the bassinet nearby. Agent Ramirez arrived alone this time, carrying a leather folder and a laptop. Grandma greeted him at the door and led him back to where I sat with a fresh cup of coffee. He nodded politely, introduced himself again as Special Agent Ramirez from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, and set up a small recorder on the coffee table. He started with straightforward questions. When did I move back in with my parents? Who had access to my bank accounts? Did I authorize any large transfers? I answered everything as clearly as I could. I explained how Mom took my card for errands and how the balances dropped faster than made sense. I described the separate savings I had before marriage and how statements stopped coming to me. Ramirez took notes without showing much reaction. Then Grandma slid over the trust documents she had prepared. He scanned them quickly, his eyebrows lifting slightly when he saw the amount $200,000 set up solely for me and Benjamin. He asked if I had ever received notifications or statements about it. I said no. Not a single email letter or mention. That was when he pulled up records on his laptop bank logs Grandma's assistant had already requested under her name. He turned the screen toward us. Line by line, he pointed out transfers. Tens of thousands moved out over months, some labeled as household costs, others routed through accounts linked to Dad's business. A pattern of withdrawals timed just before tax reporting deadlines. He highlighted purchases that didn't match baby needs, high-end electronics, home renovations, a luxury vacation package. Then came the bigger red flags: funds shifted into offshore entities and back-structured to avoid federal reporting thresholds. Ramirez leaned back and rubbed his chin. This isn't just unauthorized use, he said. The trust was structured to shelter certain income for tax purposes. Hiding its existence and diverting funds crosses into evasion territory, and the amounts are well above felony level. Grandma asked how much had been taken so far. He ran a quick calculation on the screen. Roughly 140,000, give or take, pending traces. That's from both your personal accounts and the trust. The number hit me like a punch. I stared at the columns of dates and amounts, transactions I had never seen, money meant for Benjamin's future gone. Ramirez closed the laptop and looked directly at me. Mrs. Whitmore, Victoria, we'll need formal statements from you today. We're also preparing emergency freezes on all related accounts to stop further movement. He explained the next steps calmly. Subpoenas for full bank records, interviews with anyone who had access, possible search warrants if needed. Grandma asked about timelines. He said with the evidence already in hand, the case could move fast, days, not months. Then he stood, gathered his things, and delivered the line that changed everything. This is federal now. His tone was matter of fact, but the weight behind it was clear. The local family disagreement I had lived with for months had just become a full FBI investigation. My phone started vibrating non-stop from morning. I left it on the nightstand, at first trying to focus on feeding Benjamin, but the buzzing wouldn't stop. When I finally picked it up, the screen was flooded. Dozens of missed calls from Mom, Dad, and Brooke. Texts stacked one after another. The early ones sounded worried. Victoria, where are you? From Mom. Call us immediately. From Dad. Is the baby okay again? From Mom. I didn't reply. Grandma had told me not to engage until the agents advised otherwise, but ignoring them only made the messages shift. Dad called 3 times in a row. When I didn't answer, he texted, "This is ridiculous. You can't just disappear with our grandson. Come home now." Mom's next ones turned sharper. "You're scaring us. This isn't like you. Think about what you're doing to the family." Then Brooke started. Her texts came fastest. "Everyone's freaking out here. Where did you even go? You know Mom and Dad are worried sick. I set the phone face down, but it kept going off. Vibrate after vibrate. I carried Benjamin downstairs to the kitchen for breakfast, trying to stay calm. Grandma noticed right away. She took one look at my face and held out her hand. I gave her the phone. She scrolled silently, her expression hardening with each swipe. She handed it back without comment and told me to keep recording everything. Screenshots, voicemails, all of it. By midday, the tone had changed completely. Dad sent a long one. "You're acting ungrateful after everything we've done for you and the baby. Running off like this proves you're not thinking straight." Mom followed with, "We've been patient because of postpartum struggles, but this is too far. Bring Benjamin home before you make things worse." Brooke's messages got personal. "I always covered for you when you were too tired to handle things. This is how you repay us." I felt my stomach knot. They were building a story, one where I was unstable, irrational, unfit. The calls kept coming. I let them go to voicemail. Mom left one crying, saying I was breaking her heart. Dad left another demanding I answer or face consequences. Brooke tried calling twice. When I didn't pick up, she texted again. "Fine, stay silent. But Tyler deserves to know what's really going on with you." That one stopped me cold. She had always been close to Tyler before deployment, sending him updates, pictures of Benjamin. I knew she had his overseas contact. More texts poured in throughout the afternoon. Mixed guilt and threats. "We only want what's best for the baby. You're going to regret this. Think about how this looks." I showed Grandma the worst ones. She forwarded copies to Agent Ramirez without saying much. Evening brought a fresh wave. "Dad, lawyers aren't cheap, Victoria. Whatever you think you're doing, it won't end well. Mom family sticks together. Stop this before it goes too far." Then Brooke sent the one that cut deepest. A long message worded carefully, sweet, but laced with poison. "Mom and Dad are beside themselves. If there's been a misunderstanding, we can talk it out. But if you keep acting this way, I might have no choice but to tell Tyler the truth about your mental state. I don't want to, but he needs to know for Benjamin's sake." I read it 3 times. The threat was clear, wrapped in concern. She was ready to paint me as unhinged to my own husband, using postpartum struggles as the excuse. The phone finally went silent late that night. But the damage was done. Their words echoed in my head, trying to pull me back into the old guilt. I saved every message. The laptop screen lit up with Tyler's face. The connection was clear despite the distance, his uniform crisp in the background of some overseas base room. He smiled at first, then saw my expression and went serious. "Vic, what's going on? You look like you haven't slept." Benjamin was napping in the next room, so I had time. Grandma sat nearby but out of camera view, giving me space. I started from the beginning. I told him about the constant oversight after I moved back home, how every choice about the baby got overridden, how my card disappeared into Mom's control and money vanished without explanation. Tyler listened quietly, his jaw tightening as I went on. I described the Audi, how it was meant for me but ended up with Brooke full time, how I was left pushing an old bike in dangerous heat. Then I got to the trust. $200,000 Grandma set aside for us, hidden from me completely. The withdrawals traced to renovations, vacations, luxury items, none for Benjamin or me. I forwarded some of the bank summaries Agent Ramirez had shared. Tyler's eyes scanned them on his end. When I mentioned the threatening messages and Brooke's hint at calling him directly, his face darkened. He asked a few direct questions. "Did I sign over any rights?" "No." "Did anyone have legal power of attorney?" "No." I told him about Grandma stepping in, the FBI opening a case, the freezes already in motion. Tyler leaned closer to the camera. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was scared," I admitted. "They kept saying I was unstable, that no one would believe me over family." He shook his head slowly. "Vic, I know you. Postpartum is hard, but this isn't that. This is straight up wrong." Relief washed over me. He believed me without hesitation. He asked for details on the agent handling it. I gave him Ramirez's contact info that Grandma had passed along. Tyler said he would reach out to the Military Legal Assistance Office first thing. Service members' families have protections against exactly this kind of exploitation, especially during deployment. He typed notes while we talked already planning. I'll get documentation started on my end. Anything showing interference with a soldier's dependent goes straight to the top if needed. Grandma leaned in briefly to introduce herself on camera. Tyler thanked her profusely for protecting us. Before we ended the call, an email pinged on my laptop from Agent Ramirez. Subject line, Asset Preservation Order approved. I opened it while still on video with Tyler. All accounts tied to the withdrawals were now locked. No more transfers possible without court approval. Tyler read over my shoulder through the screen share. That's huge. They can't touch another cent. He looked straight into the camera, voice steady and low. They messed with the wrong family. The call ended soon after. Tyler promised updates as soon as he spoke to legal. I closed the laptop feeling something I hadn't in months, backed up, not alone. Grandma poured fresh coffee and said the military angle would strengthen everything. Ramirez had already confirmed the freezes covered every linked account. For the first time, the balance felt shifted. Car horns and shouting erupted outside the gate. I was in the kitchen with Benjamin when the noise started sharp and sudden against the peaceful afternoon. Grandma checked the security monitor first. 3 faces filled the screen: Mom, Dad, and Brooke standing at the main entrance in the driveway. Dad leaned on the intercom button repeatedly while Mom waved her arms. Brooke held her phone up recording. Their voices crackled through the speaker. Dad yelled my name, demanding I come out. Mom added pleas about the baby needing his real family. Brooke shouted that I couldn't hide forever. The gate stayed closed. Security staff watched from inside but didn't open it. Grandma told them to hold position and call Agent Ramirez. He had left instructions for exactly this scenario. I moved to the window overlooking the front. From the second floor, I could see them clearly. Dad paced, face red. Mom dabbed at tears that looked more theatrical than real. Brooke kept filming, narrating loudly about a mother abandoning her child. They escalated quickly. Dad banged on the gate with his fist. Open up. We know she's in there with our grandson. Mom joined in, Victoria. This is insane. You're putting everyone through hell. Brooke directed her phone toward the house. See, she's keeping a newborn away from his grandparents. This isn't right. Neighbors' curtains twitched across the street. A couple of cars slowed on the road to watch. Grandma remained calm downstairs, phone in hand. She texted Ramirez the live feed link from the cameras. The shouting continued for minutes. Dad threatened to call the police himself. Mom claimed I was being manipulated by someone dangerous. Brooke insisted Tyler would hear about this as soon as she could reach him. I held Benjamin tighter, his tiny hand gripping my shirt. My pulse raced, but anger mixed with the fear now. They were performing banking on shame to drag me back. Then 2 dark sedans pulled up behind their car. Doors opened and 4 agents stepped out, Ramirez in the lead suit jacket, off badge already visible on his belt. He walked straight to the gate without hurry. The others fanned out slightly behind him. Dad kept yelling until Ramirez raised his credentials high enough for them to see clearly. Special Agent Ramirez, FBI. The noise stopped instantly. Dad's mouth stayed open mid-sentence. Mom's hands dropped to her sides. Brooke lowered her phone, face paling. Ramirez spoke evenly, voice carrying through the intercom and the open air. This property is under federal investigation. You are attempting to contact a protected witness in an active financial crimes case. Leave immediately, or you will be detained for interference. Dad tried to speak. We just want to see our daughter and grandson. Ramirez cut him off. Any further contact must go through legal channels. You have 2 minutes to return to your vehicle and depart. Non-compliance will be documented and added to the file. Mom started crying for real this time. Brooke backed toward their car, phone forgotten. Dad stood frozen a few seconds longer, staring at the badge like it might disappear. The agents didn't move. Ramirez kept his arm-raised credentials steady. Finally, Dad turned, muttering under his breath. Mom followed, shoulders slumped. Brooke got in the driver's seat, fast engine revving as they pulled away. The sedans stayed parked until the car turned the corner. Then Ramirez nodded to the security camera and left with his team. Silence returned to the street. The whole confrontation lasted less than 15 minutes, but it felt like hours. Grandma came upstairs and put an arm around me. Benjamin had stayed asleep through it all. Their desperation had shown its hand and run straight into federal authority. When the case file was handed over to the federal prosecutor, everything moved faster than I expected. Agent Ramirez called Grandma one morning to confirm the investigation had wrapped. He explained over speakerphone that the evidence was overwhelming: full bank records, trust documents, tax discrepancies, even digital trails from the withdrawals. Combined with Tyler's military submission flagging exploitation of a service member's dependent, the U.S. Attorney's Office accepted charges without delay. Counts included wire fraud, tax evasion, and theft from a federally structured trust, all felonies. Grandma asked about next steps. Ramirez said indictment was imminent, followed by arraignment. Plea discussions would likely start soon after most defendants in white-collar cases opted for deals when evidence was this solid. A week later, the charges became official. I received formal notification through Grandma's attorney my parents and Brooke had been indicted. The same day, my phone lit up again. Not with threats this time. The messages were different. Mom sent the first. "We need to talk. This has gone too far. Dad followed, lawyers are saying we should work something out." "For everyone's sake," Brooke tried. "I know you're angry, but prison isn't the answer. We can fix this privately." I didn't respond. Ramirez had warned that any direct communication could complicate things, so everything went through channels. Their attorney reached out to Grandma's legal team proposing a meeting, some kind of settlement to avoid trial. Grandma declined. The government wasn't interested in private deals, the case was federal now. Days passed with more messages. Apologies started creeping in. Dad wrote about regretting how things were handled. Brooke claimed she never meant harm, that she thought she was helping manage expenses. Then Mom sent a voicemail. Her voice shook. "Victoria, please, we're scared. We could lose everything. Think about Benjamin growing up knowing his grandparents went to prison." I listened once, then deleted it. The pressure built as arraignment approached. More texts, longer ones. Promises to pay back whatever the court ordered. Offers to sign over the Audi immediately. Pleas to drop cooperation with prosecutors. I stayed silent. Finally, the night before their court appearance, Mom sent the message that ended it. "Whatever happens tomorrow, we're still your family. Blood doesn't change. We love you and Benjamin. Please remember that." I read it in the quiet guest room, Benjamin breathing steadily in his crib nearby. Grandma had gone to bed. The house was still. I typed back one line. "No. You stopped being my family the day you chose money over us." I hit send, then blocked the number. Blocked Dad's. Blocked Brooke's. No more messages came through. The next morning, news alerts confirmed they had entered guilty pleas on reduced counts, probation, massive restitution, permanent no-contact orders. Trial avoided, but consequences locked in. I didn't watch the coverage. I didn't need to. That single reply closed the door for good. Months passed in calm routine. Tyler came home from deployment for good, and we focused on building something stable for Benjamin. The court-ordered restitution hit my parents and Brooke hard. They had to liquidate assets to cover the full amount plus penalties, $140,000 from the trust, plus interest and fines. Their house went on the market quickly. It sold at a loss in a slow Houston suburb. Dad's small business folded under the legal fees and frozen accounts. Mom lost the community standing she valued most. Brooke moved back in with them temporarily, then out when tensions boiled over. Probation terms were strict, regular check-ins, financial monitoring, no travel outside the state without approval. The no-contact order stayed permanent. Any violation meant jail time. Friends and extended family drifted away. Invitations stopped. Whispers followed them at the grocery store. They rented a small apartment on the edge of town, sharing one car between the three of them. I heard none of it directly. Updates came only through official channels or Grandma's attorney when needed. With the returned funds and Grandma's help, we found a bright two-bedroom apartment downtown, close enough to her estate for visits, far enough for independence. Tyler started civilian work. I took online classes part-time. Benjamin thrived, crawling then walking, filling the rooms with laughs. Grandma spoiled him with books and toys, but never overstepped. She respected the boundaries we set. One afternoon, Tyler was at an interview, Benjamin down for his nap. I stood in the empty living room of the new place, boxes half unpacked around me. Grandma arrived with the final paperwork, title to the Audi transferred fully to me, insurance paid for the year. She handed over the key fob along with the deed supplement for a college fund she restarted in Benjamin's name. "No strings this time," she said with a smile. We talked about ordinary things: paint colors, daycare options, Tyler's job prospects, normal life. Later that week, everything was moved in. Furniture arranged, pictures hung. The Audi parked in our assigned spot downstairs. I buckled Benjamin into his stroller for a walk around the building. He babbled at birds in the courtyard trees, pointing with chubby fingers. Standing there in the late afternoon light, keys to our own place in my pocket, watching his wide smile, the weight of the past finally lifted. We're finally free. If I could share one thing with anyone watching this, it's that speaking up, really speaking up, can change everything, even when it feels impossible. I stayed silent for too long because they were family, because I didn't want to break things, because I thought I was the problem. But control dressed up as concern isn't love. Stealing a child's future while claiming to protect it isn't help. And blood doesn't give anyone the right to take your dignity, your money, or your choices. The moment I told the truth to Grandma that day on the street, I started getting my life back. Getting help from people who actually cared, like her and Tyler, and trusting the system to do its job made justice real. You don't owe silence to abusers just because they share your last name. Protecting yourself and your kids isn't selfish, it's necessary. And when you do stand up, you might be surprised who stands with you. Benjamin giggled again, reaching for me. I picked him up, held him close, told him, "This is our life now, earned, peaceful, and completely ours."